In this math video, we're going to be learning about the base 10 system, or as you may know it, our place value system. So our place value system is based on the number 10. And basically, as you move to the left of the grid, what happens is each number is multiplied by 10. So let's say that we've got the number 1 here. If we multiplied that by 10, it would equal 10. And then to get to the next place value to the left, if we multiplied 10 by 10, it would equal 100. And then if you multiplied 100 by 10, it would equal 1,000. If you multiplied 1,000 by 10, it would equal 10,000. And then if you multiplied that by 10, 100,000. And then if you multiplied 100,000 by 10, you would get 1 million. So that's how our base 10 system works to the left with our whole numbers, is we always multiply by 10 as we are moving to the left of our place value system. So you may have already learnt that already in school, but now what we're going to do is we're going to introduce the decimal place value system. So to the right of every single ones unit, there is a decimal. And we often don't write it because there's no point if there is no decimal or fraction or decimal part of our number. So we like to just kind of leave that off at the end, but it really is always there. So the decimal's always to the right of the ones column. And if there are no decimals or no fractions in our number, then there are just zeros that continue on forever to the right of this place value system. Okay, so to the right of the decimal, we've got our tenths column here. So I want you to imagine that if I ask you to split one thing or to divide it into 10 equal parts, you would come up with 1/10 of that thing. And so then that's divided by 10. And we've got it here as a fraction and then here as a decimal. So you can see that they're actually exactly the same thing. They're just represented in a different way. This line here is the line that separates the numerator, the one, from the denominator. It's just slanted in this view. So then over here, imagine if you had that same one thing and then you were asked to divide it not only into 10, but you had to then divide that one thing into 100. So you're dividing it again by 100. So it's 1/10, 1 divided by 10, and then 1/10 divided by 10, which is 100th, and then 100th divided by 10, which is 1,000th, and it just keeps going on and on this way to the right. So all fractions, decimals, and percentages fit into this section of our place value system, and they are all less than 1. So all of these numbers here are smaller than 1, and everything gets bigger to the left, and to the right it gets smaller. So this, a digit that would be in this place value would be the smallest. A digit in this place value would be the biggest. All right. So how would you write decimals in words? So first of all, I've got this one here. So this is said as 0 and. So you always say the decimal as an and then you would say that what you have to do is you need to firstly find the place value column that the last number fits into, and then you say the value of that place value number. So I'll show you what I mean. If I was to write this out into my table, I would say 0 here, 3 goes there right next to the decimal, and then the 4 would go here. So it would be 0 and 34 hundredths. So I would say the 400ths because the last digit, my number here, falls into the hundredths column. if I had a number like this, for example, so this one would be said as 0 and, well, the 6 is the last number that I have. So the 6 falls into the thousandths place column. So I'm going to say just 26 thousandths. So it's 0 and 26 thousandths. And I'll write it in. So 0 and 0, 26. So you can see there it fits into the thousandths column there. And I put this one in just so that you can see that you don't actually need the 0 in front. You can put it there if you want to, but it doesn't make any difference if you just put the decimal. It's exactly the same thing as having a 0 or not having a 0. So with this one, I'm going to write my digits in. So 1, 0, 3. So my 3 is the last, it's the last digit that I have in this entire number. So the 3 falls into the thousandths column. So I'm just going to say the number as it's written. Forget about the decimal. So 103 and then thousandths because it falls into the thousandths column. So, oops, I forgot to write them in. So this one would be 34 hundredths. That's another really important point. When you're dealing with decimals, it's always a THS at the end of the word. It's to show that it's a fraction, so it's hundredths. You really kind of want to almost have a lisp when you're saying that. Okay, so then the next one is 26 thousandths. Oops. 26,000. It's really important to get that THS on the end because if you didn't, if you forgot about the THS, you'd actually end up with one of these really big numbers up here, which is not. It's a very, very different thing. Okay, so this one we decided was 103 thousandths. 103 thousandths. And so now let's look at our next one. So what I always do when you kind of get something that's a little bit bigger like this is I just count across the place values. So I go tenths, hundredths, thousandths, tens of thousandths, hundreds of thousandths. Then I write that down. Hundreds of thousandths, and then I look back at the number again. So I might even say 0 and because the and is the decimal, tenths, hundredths, thousands. Double check